what are the solutions? I did feel a sort of tiredness of having to, what they call here, denunciar, to denounce all the things that are wrong. We speak often we speak of human rights defenders, and fighting against something, and this kind of language. I understand that it's extremely important and in many ways reflects reality. Human rights defenders and the way they have to defend themselves, their families, it reflects reality. However, I've come a bit to, well, it's been an internal battle and I'm still battling it, but I come to believe that it's more beneficial to use positive language if that's possible in some way. Again, like there's cases where you cannot use positive language, but this as well comes with a personal desire to be more solution oriented. And over the last decade or a bit more that I've been doing this work, I truly and definitely believe that the first step is to secure rights and of every person. We speak of human rights or indigenous people's rights, and a lot of people go like, oh, why do these indigenous people need to have different rights than us? That's a very common argument. That's just very erroneous, because we don't speak of for them having different rights than anyone else. We speak of them needing a special attention to their rights, so they can be uplifted and enjoy the same level of human rights as everyone else. I'm convinced that the first step is guaranteeing these rights, guaranteeing their territory, so they have their auto-determination to decide for themselves about where to go with development, what to do with their lives. And that was always very clear to me. But then once that step, or once you leave that, or you reach that, the next step then usually is the next question is usually about livelihoods. Yeah. So okay, they have their territory, but yes, we know their territory has been impacted by oil industry and so forth, or overexploitation, whatever the reason. So nowadays maybe they need something more. They need some other way to gain their livelihood. They're much more involved in Western society, or it's just the reality. Our society is very dynamic, and the way different indigenous groups include themselves or not include themselves in Peruvian society, that's up to them, and that's very different, and it's very dynamic, and lots of different groups choose different ways, and so often then it's a reality that they're somehow within this Peruvian society, and that means also, okay, we now need money. We now need we need gasoline for a transport. These are obvious realities, and so like, how do you get there? Yeah, for example, if you live in an indigenous community that's close to a city, well, okay, before you had 100 hectares of forest where you were able to hunt and gather all your resources. Well, nowadays there's no more of that forest. So what do? How do you gain your livelihood? So once, let's say, guaranteed perhaps the right to their territory and their human rights, the next step is how they make an income, how they make a living, how they gain a livelihood. And that particular question, working for all these years, is extremely difficult, and I never really felt I had a great answer, or I never really felt there was many best case practices there or any easy solutions. Of course you've heard of, okay, conservation, you can somehow use the natural resources that then growing back or coming back, and obviously like that sort of like management, natural resource management is one way. And of course, in the world, there's a lot of good initiatives, and there is solutions. And I'm really, right now, I'm really excited about one of the solutions that Chaikuni is proposing. And it is sort of like an agroforestry way of working, what we call a chakra integral.